We've allowed the floor to dry for 2 days, 48 hours. You can see it's nice and dry. So the process that we'll go through now is that we'll sand it with 80 grit sandpaper. Take careful attention as to how they sand, not aggressively up and down in a roundabout motion. They'll remove their shoes, they'll have their knee pads on. The equipment that you need for this process, once they've sanded, industrial vacuum cleaner to actually remove any of the dust. They'll then take a wet mutton cloth and take off the last excess bit of dust. Because the first coat of sealer, which is your color retaining primer, and color retaining primer means exactly what it means. It retains the color of the floor. It's water based, so you don't have to worry if you've got a slight bit of dampness on the floor with your damp cloth removing the last bit of dust. Right, so we've removed all the dust, and why? Because we want to get the best adhesion with our sealers possible. If there's any bit of dust on the floor and you put a sealer over the top of that, you're not going to get the correct adhesion. So we now put our color retaining primer on top of this, which is water based. We get between 12 to 15 squares per liter. It's applied liberally. You'll watch Julian and Mohammed put that on now. We then allow that to dry overnight, and we start our final sealing process with your satin or gloss acrythane sealer. So to recap, the first part of the sealing is we sand with 80 grit sandpaper, preferably with an orbital sander. If you have to use your hand sander, your hand bar sanding, use it in a circular motion, not a vigorous up and down motion. Vacuum clean all the excess dust off, then come back with a damp cloth and take off all the other dust to make sure that you've got a completely clean floor, because we want the best adhesion as we can with the sealer. We're getting a spread rate of between 12 to 15 square meters per liter. These are obviously optimum spread rates because we've got a highly polished floor, but rather err on the side of 12 square meters so you get complete coverage. We allow this to dry overnight, and we'll continue with the final 2 coats of either the satin or gloss acrythane. We've now come to the final procedure of pigmented floor coat. We put on the color retaining primer yesterday. It's dried overnight. What we're going to do now is give it a final vacuum, because dust will settle in it overnight and we don't want any dust to get the best bond that we can. On this floor we're going to put 2 coats of solvent-based acrythane on at a spread rate of approximately between 8 and 10 square meters per liter. We'll be applying it with a mohair roller. The same 2 guys, Mohammed and Julian, you watch them, they'll do exactly the same procedure as the color retaining primer, making sure they get the best coverage that they can. Please, whilst they are mixing the twin pack, please make sure that you watch them. You'll see that they apply part A, which is the catalyst, into the base. They give it a good shake. It can be done with a Festo drill too, but if you do it the way that you see them doing it, it's perfectly sufficient. It is then applied into the bucket. Julian's cleaned the spindle. Mohammed's emptying the last bit of acrythane that's been agitated and mixed into the clean bucket, making sure there's nothing in the bottom of the bucket, otherwise it will destroy your compound. And then they're going to apply it, as I said, at 8 to 10 square meters per liter. Right. Let's recap of what we've seen in this process today, the sealing process. The second step, we've applied our first coat of color retaining primer. We've cleaned it, we've vacuumed it, and removed all the dust that we possibly can. A couple of points when you're sealing that you must remember. If you've got large, big windows in houses with a lot of sunlight coming in, it's imperative that you tape them up with old newspaper to make sure that the glare doesn't come through, because we don't want the floor or the sealer drying at a rate different to all parts of the floor. So tape up your windows, just straightforward newspaper to stop that glare coming in. Make sure that doors are lockable when you put sealers on. Make sure you do not leave lights on at night so the mosquitoes die and fall onto the floor. Make sure that you have keys, that you take ownership of that area. And make sure that nobody comes in that floor and starts testing, because one of the best things that clients love to do when they start seeing their floor is to come and touch and feel, and one little fingerprint or footprint from a child will create a whole lot of problems that you have to do to redo the whole floor. So let's assume we have a secure area and we're in charge of it. We've now applied our first coat of sealer at approximately 8 to 10 square meters per liter. We've mixed catalyst with the base. We've agitated for 2 minutes to make sure we get complete agitation. We always put into a bucket. We don't seal or apply the sealer from the 5-liter bucket. This is the first coat, and we will apply the second coat in exactly the same manner as we've applied the first coat. We will come in tomorrow. We'll allow it to dry for at least 8 hours, but it's best to leave it for overnight. We will clean off the floor of any dust with a damp cloth. If we need to vacuum, we'll vacuum, and we'll apply the second coat in exactly the same manner, 8 to 10 square meters per liter. Some areas, for instance like bathrooms, countertops, areas of high traffic, I recommend that you use 3 coats of acrythane to get a far more harder surface. But as a rule, 2 coats are perfectly sufficient in homes. So pigmented floor coat, as you've seen in the instructional application side of the video, needs skilled applicators. And it's not a simple process. There's a lot of preparation work that's involved. There's quite a few coats. But the finished product is something really unusual and beautiful if you compare it to timber or tiles. It gives you a very versatile floor, easy to clean, nice for beach cottages, nice for studios, nice for commercial workspaces, nice for apartments. It can be used in a rustic area, it can be used in a modern area, so it's a very versatile product. It comes in 8 colors and only 8 colors. If you request a special color, you're going to pay more, and it's going to take some time for us to develop that colors. But we believe this color range is ample when it comes to what we need today in modern day houses or rustic homes. Just to go over again the sealing process, which is very important. We have 2 types of sealers. We have a water-based, more environmentally responsible sealer, which is called our twin pack water-based acrythane sealer, and then we have a more durable twin pack solvent-based sealer. With technology as it is today, we hope that the water-based technology will become more and more on the forefront, and we can do away with our solvent-based products, but at the moment the solvent-based twin pack acrythane is definitely the most strongest. As I said before, in areas where you feel you're going to have high traffic, like kitchens and bathroom floors, at the front entrance of doors where dogs come in and out of it, we suggest that you use 3 coats of your chosen sealer, being the acrythane water-based or the acrythane solvent-based. It also comes in 2 sheen levels, a satin and a high gloss. The higher your gloss level, the more protection that you're going to have, but most people prefer the satin finish. We also have a product on our product list called the acrythane matte, which is not for floors, it's for sealing walls. So please don't use the matte acrythane on floors, either the satin or the gloss. The other thing that we strongly recommend is that if you have chairs with wheels on them, you have a mat that you can have your chair on, because it will slowly grind away at the floor. You also have special types of wheels which have a lock on it, so as you move they're up, and when you stop they don't allow you to rock anymore. We recommend those kind of wheels on roller chairs in offices. In restaurants, we strongly recommend felt or rubber tips underneath chairs, as they tend to, if you've got rather large people there, can grind away nice and slowly into your floor and take away the sealer, because the integrity of this floor is a system. It's not just the sealer or just the actual pigmented floor coat, it's the whole system. Tables, when you're pulling them across the floor, please don't in the first part of moving into your house, because generally you move in the next day after the floor's been done. It takes 7 days for this sealer to get to its full hardness. So lift tables up and put them down. Don't scratch them across the floor, because they will tend to leave a big scar, which unfortunately you'd have to recoat again to get away with it. So it's all about using common sense, but once the floor is done, as you can see, it is a really attractive floor.